believe that the people who committed heinous crimes such as murder, rape, sexual molestation, kidnapping, arson, and so on deserves to be alive, being cared, sleeps, eats 3 times a day? Well, if your answer is no, they don't deserve any second chances. Then what punishment do you think is a just punishment for these kinds of horrific crimes? Capital punishment, also known as death penalty, if one prefers a friendlier term. It is a practice of killing an individual by a government or ruling entity in response to a crime such as murder, rape, sexual molestation, kidnapping, arson, and so on. It is considered the just punishment for a person that is legally convinced of an action which is deemed to a safety threat to society. In question, does reimposing the death penalty deters crime? Hi, my name is Gwynn Arabilla. To this video, we're going to discuss about death penalty and why we should reimpose the death penalty. Before we proceed to our main points on why we should reimpose the death penalty, let us first acknowledge the stimulating opposing viewpoints on this topic. Is it really immoral for the state to kill its own citizen? My adversary stated that it is immoral for the state to kill its own citizen. Well, isn't it more immoral for these kinds of people to penetrate more vicious crimes? We have a justice system for a reason. It is to promote good and restrain evil. Our justice system is designed for this purpose. Thus, when a person is convicted of committing wrongful criminal acts, heinous crimes and such, then society must impose justice. Hence, the significant justice in this instance can be the imposition of death penalty. It is true that there is no perfect justice system. It is imperfect, flawed. I'm afraid that we might be executing an innocent person. But are we forgetting about the DNA testing and other advanced forensic tools? Studies suggest that DNA analysis is roughly 95% accurate. And DNA can also be used by the defendant to prove their innocence. The new technology known as massively parallel sequencing can provide predictions for visual traits of criminals from the DNA they leave at a crime scene, allowing the investigators to predict gender, biographical ancestry, eye color, and by months, the hair color. Over the past decades, people have seen enormous advances in a powerful criminal justice tool. In all, DNA is increasingly vital to ensuring accuracy and fairness in the criminal justice system. Therefore, it is impossible to wrongly execute an innocent person. Have you watched the Korean movie entitled Hope? The story revolves around an 80-year-old girl named Suwon, which means hope in Korean, who faces unfortunate offenses done by a horrid man, Choo-doo-sun, the actual criminal behind the story. He got released last year, December 12, 2020, after serving his 12-year term in prison. Suwon, the victim, after the horrific crime did to her, her genitals and anus lost 80% of their functions, resulting in an insertion of an artificial anus and permanent disabilities. If y'all would watch the movie, the girl was very traumatized and was having a very hard time recovering from the horrific incident. And since Choo-doo-sun got released last year, lots of civilians have been fearing the idea of him roaming around the streets of Korea. Okay, let's use the movie as a complement to our next opposing viewpoints. They articulated that we should try to reform people by putting them to rehabilitation centers. Unfortunately, research has reliably shown that the time spent in jail doesn't effectively reform most prisoners, especially murderers, rapists. Most of the murders are crime of passion, and the majority of the criminals return to a life of crime immediately after getting out. And if you would let them walk away, they would be more blatant. Therefore, reforming criminals might be a troublesome interaction or process. And now, we're going to state all the main points on why we should reimpose the death penalty. I believe in an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, penalizes criminal. Retributive justice. Retribution is a rational punishment that states that punishment is an end in itself and should be balanced to the warm cost. Retributive justice focuses to only those who deserve it. In 2016, the Iron Lady of Asia, Miriam Defensor Santiago, stated that With what our countrymen are doing, you would really want to kill. Yes, I am reconsidering my previous decision. All legal system recognizes the need of punishment in response to crime. If the perpetrators of crime walks free and pay money and escape punishment, then that would mean that they have not done anything wrong, right? Lord Denning observed in his evidence to the Royal Commission on Capital Punishment, the ultimate justification of any punishment is not that it is a deterrent, but that is the emphatic denunciation by the community of crime. Therefore, if you leave a crime unpunished, it is regarded as an innocent deed. But by punishing the criminal, the status quo ante crime is restored. This view was taken by Hampton, who said that by the very act of commission of crime, the criminal fails to respect the victim's value as a human being. So here's the question. Does the death penalty can provide a deterrence against violent crime? Death penalty can provide a deterrence against violent crime. When many criminologists think of deterrence in terms of death penalty, they're thinking about how the presence in such a sentence can dissuade someone from doing a violent act in the very first place. It transforms a value proposition. Do I want to put my life in line because I'm willing to take someone's life right now? In that situation, 88% of the criminologists feels like the death penalty is ineffective. The real convicted person is what we need to look at for this advantage. The capital punishment acts as an irreversible deterrent, ensuring that we'll never have another opportunity to take a life. It is a type of incapacitation that aids in protecting of society by preventing future crimes. I believe that reimposing the death penalty will certainly aid with putting this to an end. Death penalty may not bring back life, but it sure does provide justice. A punishment that is equal and reflects the crime committed. The death penalty is not about the plummet of the crimes. We do have a society now where obedience to the law is really a choice, an option only, deterred quid. We are protecting innocent people from violent people. Death penalty value human life. Our society is right to value human life. We do value the human life. But we do also value justice for the wrongful taking of human life. Some criminals like murderers, rapists, serial killers can't be reformed, and I believe that only the death penalty is suitable. If we are protecting people, then we must protect innocent people from violent people. You, what are you protecting? The lives of the criminals?